Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 354 of the Juicebox Podcast. Today's show is sponsored by... I don't remember who it's sponsored by. Hold on, I'll be right back. Sorry about that, I'm back. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Dexcom and Omnipod. Find out more about the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor by going to dexcom.com/juicebox. And to get a free, no-obligation demo of the Omnipod tubeless insulin pump sent directly to you, or just to find out more, myomnipod.com/juicebox. Jaime's on the show today. She was type 2 before she was type 1, meaning somebody misdiagnosed her as type 2. But she has an incredibly different perspective than most of the people coming on the show because she came to America from another country to study here. So she knows two different worlds. I want you to remember two things. Don't skip forward because you think I'm just going to tell you that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Please always consult a physician before making any changes to your medical plan or becoming bold with insulin. You think I know that, Scott? I was going to skip through it, but there's something else. I'd like you to check out juiceboxdocs.com and diabetesprotip.com. Those are two URLs I've set up. One to get you to the ever-growing list of great diabetes doctors that have been sent in by listeners. You can add yours to the list, by the way. And at diabetesprotip.com, all of the Diabetes Pro Tip episodes are collected in one place for those of you who would like to listen to them again or share them more easily. So that's pretty much it. I want you to get ready for Jaime. Jaime's got a little bit of an accent, but you'll stop hearing it in just a couple of minutes. She's got a really great story. Hi.
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like I'm almost like a completely different person since I sent you the email.
You know what? I really, really thought that's what was going to be, when we started talking, because you were at the very beginning of an incredibly confusing journey when you sent this email.
Yeah, it is.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll pick through it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it sounds like an interview. So my name is Jaime Song. I have a Chinese name as Dongying Song, but it's hard American people to pronounce that. So Jaime is my reservation name and takeout name and everything.
My reservation and takeout name.
Yeah. So a little bit about my journey is it's a long story actually, because right now I'm 29 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but when I was like 18, probably even earlier, I start to have those low blood sugar symptom. I always want to learn that long word, like that fancy word, but I haven't. So I always like sweat and it's always like after 2 hours of eating, or it's either around midnight, or it's like I had breakfast at 8 a.m. and I start to have this crazy like low sugar symptom at 10 or sometimes 12 at noon. So, but we didn't figure it out. I feel like I'm a constant visitor to hospital because I wasn't like that much of a healthy kid when I growing up. So, but we see doctors like Western medicine doctors and also Chinese medicine doctors. They didn't know like what is happening. I was having anemia back then. So until then, like until 2013, I came to United States for my master program at Columbia University. Somehow I got something checked out, and the nurse was saying, "Oh, you need to watch your A1C because it's elevated." It was like I didn't remember the exact number. It's either 4.8 or 5 point something. So oh, I saw like, oh, I probably need to exercise, and I remember I started running at that time at the gym of the university. Also, I um I run like outdoors and like start to eat salad. Before that, I never thought of like salad as a like a meal, like because I feel like it's just raw vegetables. But I did that for a while. Also, I remembering like in year of 2015, I start to see a specialist. Like she's an endo,
Mm-hmm.
but like in the hospital near our university, and she was like give me a bunch of like strips and also the meter. Want me to take my sugar like after the meal, before meal, and before bedtime, like for 4 months. And at that time, she saw it and she says, "Oh, it's still okay. Like I cannot give you any diagnosis right now. But you need to watch your diet and exercise." So at that time, I think definitely my A1C was 5 point something,
And they were,
maybe.
and you were thinking, well, everyone was thinking you were about to get type 2 diabetes. Is that what was happening?
Yeah, I think so. Like, she's more like towards that because also she wasn't sure. She said, I don't know if you are type 1 or type 2, but until now I realized she could have test all my antibodies or like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to make sure like to figure out what is happening, but she didn't. She just let me go home. So I saw a nurse like or like dietitian
Yeah.
to like she taught me how to eat berries, like how many, um, very detailed, and how to control my diet. But that lasts for a while. I was eating healthy, I was exercising, but I and then I had another roommate, like very like me a lot, like sweets.
Mm-hmm.
So we drink Coke, like whatever, like eat noodles. Like there's a Xi'an famous food near Chinese university. Also, like Chinese. I'm a Chinese, so our diet is more like heavy on carbs. So I basically like lost it. Like at that time, I feel like something changed at my house. Like I was thinking because that apartment we rent is like more towards like indoor, like the window doesn't have that much light, so I was like during the weekend I can sleep through like noon or something. I was quite sleepy. Also, I feel lazy or like lethargic almost like since I was 15 or 12,
Okay.
because I gained a lot of weight when I was in middle school, like 12. I was I don't know how much pounds, but I was like 45 kilograms
Mm-hmm.
when I was 12, but I jumped to maybe almost like 60 when I was like a very short period of time.
And that was all weight. You didn't get like incredibly taller at that time or something like that too.
Not really,
Yeah.
because my height is 5'4".
Okay.
So it's around that height almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I gained weight. I was skinny, but because when I was in middle school, my mom suddenly started to cook her cooking skills um like turn into another person. Like it's really delicious. It's
She got better.
so I start to eat more, and also the work at school start to pick up, so I don't run outside all the time. Instead, I sit inside and do my homework all the time.
Yeah.
So I gain a lot of weight.
Can I ask you, have you ever had your thyroid levels checked?
Thyroid level, I think so. Yeah, I think that's when I saw my endo. Like when I got my final diagnosis, before that, my endo saw my thyroid level. She was saying something.
Yeah, because my thought there is if you had a significant weight gain out of nowhere, and you're lethargic and you're sleeping a lot, that all could lead to hypothyroidism.
Oh.
Which Arden has, and
I see.
and is very similar. Arden didn't gain weight with it; she just got really tired, and Arden's the same way. If you black out her windows, she'll sleep forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you talking about this before on the podcast.
I think it's well worth looking into. Can I let me pick through a couple other questions too. So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in China.
How would we whereabouts, and is there a province, or how do they split China up?
So it's in the middle. If you have ever heard of Shaolin Temple, it's in our city.
Okay.
So our province is called Henan, and our city is Zhengzhou. So it's not a really famous city like Beijing and Shanghai, but it's in the right in the middle.
Mm-hmm. And you were there until it was time to come to do your graduate work? Yeah,
almost. I had my college not far from my home.
How does that work? Not to get too far away from diabetes for a second, but how does someone from the middle of China, who I'm assuming obviously is a really incredible student, how do you find your way to Colombia?
I think when I was in college, my cousin was telling me her classmate, because she was having a master's degree, is getting those tests called GRE and TOEFL, and I was thinking about it because either I'm going to graduate school in China or I'm thinking about here. So I definitely want to go outside and check it out, what is out there. Did you
take the GRE?
Yeah, I do.
Is it your intention to be a doctor?
No, I think it's because I was studying math.
MRE is for physicians, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's a separate thing. So GRE is more for science subject.
I gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so let's pick a little more through. So because you said something here, we have friends who are Indian, and they say that the instance of type 2 diabetes in Indians living in America is incredible because of their diets are so really carb heavy and sauces and stuff like that. And so you grew up with the same thing. Now, how about back at home? Are there family members with diabetes?
No, actually, not at all. Or my grandparents, they passed away quite early. Also, at that time, they don't have this sort of thing to check it out. But none of my parents' siblings were themselves have
it. Gotcha. And so there's nobody who can help you at home, and you're here trying to figure it out on your own. Do you go to the doctor at a private physician, or do you go through the school?
So at that time I got that first unusual A1C at school, and then I graduated. I started to work. So, gotcha. Yep.
Man, now you're a real person with a job.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it at some point someone figured out? Oh, wait, I had one more question that I'm sorry. You said that with the with your diet being heavy the way it was at home, and you got here and you described I like to drink soda and eat carb heavy meals. All those things were available at home, or was it sort of the situation where you got here and you're like, wow, look at all of these options I didn't have before?
You mean heavy carbs?
Well, even Coke and stuff like that. Is that universal, or did you get here presented with a bunch of things?
I think it's universal. Because when I was little, I feel like I was drinking soda growing up. I'm such crazy fan about Coke.
Was it like a sign? Was it like a, hey, this is American, this is cool, that kind of feeling?
Not really. I feel like life-wise it's miserable. Sorry, no offense.
No.
Because I feel like all I would say the Western food I had at home, like we had Pizza Hut at home.
Yeah.
It's more like a sit down like diner, like cheese factory or like a more fancy diner like in China. So all the pizza, burgers, KFC, like McDonald's are customized to Chinese like taste. I would say I would rather have KFC in China than here because yeah.
It sounds to me like America is planning like a we're attacking you with bad restaurants.
No, it's delicious actually.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was growing up, KFC would be like a more better meal than like other meals. It's more expensive and also like um I couldn't have it every day or
Right. Was it tailored? Yeah. Was it tailored to Chinese culture, or was it chicken and mashed potatoes?
I think it's tailored to Chinese culture. I feel like I always had that impression like McDonald's and KFC are chicken burgers. Mm-hmm. Only a few like beef burgers, but here I feel like most of the burgers like Shake Shack, Five Guys, also like McDonald's, they have more like beef burgers.
Right. I understand. Okay. Well, it's crazy. How did you speak any English when you got here?
Yeah. Okay. Because as TOEFL, it's a language test. It has like writing, speaking, listening, and what else? Yeah. So it has everything. So you have to get certain grade to get into a good school.
Gotcha. Oh, that's really cool. I mean, what are you doing now? You said you're out and you're working. What kind of a job do you have?
Yeah, so I work in pharmaceutical right after my graduation as a analyst, more like statistical analyst because I went to a stats program. Now I'm like software engineer, like completely different.
Just not with pharma anymore?
No, I'm with a bank. I'm with JP Morgan right now.
Oh, wow. Jeez, you're killing it.
Yeah, it's not really hard. It's just
yeah. You said it's not hard?
Yeah, I would say I feel like I'm an average person, like especially among Chinese. So yeah, I feel like if you just apply, keep applying, so you will get it.
Jaime, smart people always think they're not smart. It's very interesting. I'm average for a statistical analyst. You know how that goes. All right. So at what point? Because do you consider yourself type 1 now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because the funny story is actually I got my first diagnosis in China because I was drinking sodas and not care about my life at all. When I was traveling back to China, I think 2018 February. Mm-hmm. So my cousin was staying with us. She's a nurse. So she was saying, "Oh, why don't you get your sugar checked? I know you have this problem." I said, okay. So we checked the fasting sugar. It was like 8 point something, 9 point something. It's right now I'm thinking probably it's 140 something as a measure here. So that was like quite high, and she checked a few times, like twice or 3 times, and then she said you need to see a doctor. So me and my mom just hop on a taxi and went to a big hospital there to see the doctor. I thought we were just like we always do. We we check with a specialist. I thought we were going home, but she was saying because I only had vacation for like 3 weeks or something.
Right.
That was almost like half through it. She was saying, "Oh, you need to be like stay in hospital if you want to check all your things." So we did overall checked because I was complaining. I was having a low blood sugar. I don't have really any feeling when the sugar is really high. Mm-hmm. So they did an overall check, like even something like they had some fancy check is like checking. I think they did is that CT or something? They inject something to my arm, and they can scan me to see the shape of my pancreas.
Oh.
They were yeah. I think they were thinking I have some tumor on my pancreas or something. It's causing me low blood sugar. But they didn't find any tumor, and they put on like CGM on me. Actually, it's quite like I feel like it's a dinosaur model or like something weird. So anyway, like they check if I will have low sugar symptom. Also, they will, because I'm in hospital, they will come like even during the night. They will come like every 2 hours to uh, collect my blood and check my sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, they were saying, "Oh, you are like type 2. You need this is metformin and another drug. I forgot. So take metformin and just test your blood and do this."
And so you're in China, they're doing these tests. They felt like this was type 2 still there?
Yes, because I feel like I'm 130 pounds at the time. So they feel like, oh, you are not really a skinny person. And from my sugar, all the stats they were saying, oh, you probably are type 2.
It's
also
it's funny how they do that with certain ages and certain body types. They just make a leap and they decide, though, this is type 2 diabetes. And like you said, they probably could have checked for antibodies for type 1 and had a better answer. But then you got put on metformin. How did that process go? Like, how does treating a type 1 like a type 2 affect your life?
Yeah, I feel like it's mostly like emotional like impact, because I came back here, I start to see my primary care physician to continue my prescription for my metformin. And I saw, because at that time I start to pick up all the exercise. I run, our building have some class. I almost like attend them all. So I exercise like 2 hours a day at least. So at the time I'm losing weight. Also, I feel like promising. I was thinking, oh, if I keep exercising and eating healthy meals, I will be off this. I will be cured.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll get rid of the type 2 is what you thought, right?
Yeah. So, but I still want to like confirm this when with a specialist here again. So I went to a Columbia Naomi Diabetes Center, made an appointment, and I think I only got the appointment like until like 5 months later. But before that, I was attending classes. They require you to attend class to see a doctor, but that's apparently like a type 2 class.
Right.
So my the certified
diabetes
educator.
Yeah, you call that a CDE. That could be their name. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. My CDE is like, she's teaching those class. She was saying, oh, there's probably something wrong with your case. Let me like give you an appointment like for an endo. So in the meanwhile, you just keep your diet like better this way and that. Yeah. So
how hard was that for you to just change your diet immediately? Did you struggle with that?
I don't think so. I was more like afraid of that. So I changed immediately, like snap your finger. Like I never drink. I feel like that was another extreme. Like I barely eat. I feel like my eating like dropped, like must be like 50%. So I lost a lot of weight at that time. Also, I was afraid to eat. I was very careful with everything I'm eating. Yeah, but the downside.
Did your change of diet affect your tiredness? Did you stop feeling so tired as you lost weight?
No, I think it's getting worse.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
Yep.
And would you call that like, do you have like brain fog where you're kind of foggy when you're trying to think? And do you have like muscle aches, joint pain, that kind of stuff too?
Yeah, I think I have brain fog like for a long time, especially before my period, like something like, yeah, I
It
think
gets worse.
before, yeah, it gets.
So let me suggest this to you. If you have someone look at your thyroid panels again
Mm-hmm.
and the numbers aren't out of range, but they're like a little high or a little different,
Mm-hmm.
ask the doctor to give you medication anyway.
I see.
Say, can I just try it anyway? Because I've heard of a lot of people whose tests come back in range, but who have hypothyroidism, and here are my symptoms. My symptoms really seem to match hypothyroidism,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll tell you why. My wife realized she had hypothyroidism after she gave birth to Arden,
Mm-hmm.
and for 7 years, doctors wouldn't listen to her about it. 7 years. And it really impacted her body and her health and everything. And then one day in a doctor's appointment, we just said to the doctor, I don't care what the panels say, give her the medicine. And 2 weeks later, she felt better.
Oh,
So I don't struggle with it just because that number's sitting in a range, because it's very common for people to have hypothyroidism and not be in that range. Or
I see.
not be out of the range, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely check it out with my doctor. But I think right now is everything turns around. Like I think I'm already above a year. Actually, I feel like a year is really a threshold
Mhm.
because I remember myself like crying like when I heard my doctor calling me like, "Oh, your antibodies came out. I think you are definitely a type 1 diabetes patient."
Crying because you were happy to have a good diagnosis?
Crying because I feel like it's, oh, I thought I'm type 2. I'm still getting control of this, but now it's like I need to be on be dependent on insulin forever. So I feel like that was a shock.
Okay. Yeah, I can see. Did that push you into did you experience any kind of depression around this time?
No, I think I was a little bit depressed at the moment, like a few months. Um, Also, I didn't really use insulin that much, even though I was prescribed. Also, I think at my first try, I used like 2 units for like 40 something carbs, or I got like low
Okay.
on the first time, so I was even more scared. Um, but I think everything changed after one event, maybe because 2018 July, I got the first like type 1 diabetes diagnosis, and 2018 December, I went back home again, and they put on a CGM. Like I was doing overall checked because in China, like if you go to hospital, they will check everything for you. Now here, like when if I tell my doctor I have stomach or like something else happening, I will have to go to see a separate specialist.
Mhm.
So there, even though they are specialists, they will call consultation for other doctors, but they will check everything for you, do all the labs. So they put on the freestyle CGM on me. So I thought, oh, actually, I can see my sugar this way instead of poking myself like 10 times a day. So after I came back, I get my doctor to get me like freestyle CGM, but that was my primary care physician. So I didn't know, like I lost touch with my endo like ever since. So I was like I wasn't sure like what was I'm using. So actually, I made another appointment with my endo a few months later, and she was saying, "Oh, here at the diabetes center, we're actually using Dexcom because it's more accurate during the night."
Right.
Also, I feel like swiping is stupid. Like I have to scan it like every time. I feel like I'm a food, like a frozen food, like from Trader Joe. When I check out, I need to scan myself.
That's very funny. I never thought of it that way before, but you're just passing yourself over top of that glass thing. Beep. Beep.
Yep.
Yeah. That's fun. It's very funny. Jaime, that's hilarious, actually. Well, I mean, I think, if you can afford Dexcom, I think it's a huge leap over the Libre. And, people will say, well, Libre is less expensive, so it's all I can afford, which I think if that's the case, there's nothing wrong with it. But I have heard ideas of it being less accurate too. So it's a tough call. Like, there's a lot of different things that impact what you can afford and what you can use. And I think, you do your best. So I guess let me just start here, like with the type 1. How long have you been living with your type 1 diagnosis now?
I think it's 1 year and 3 months.
With the type 1 diabetes diagnosis?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said something at the beginning. You said that when I sent you this email, I was a completely different person. And you've described pretty well now how, like, what the person was you were back then. But what is your situation now? How do you see yourself now? If you were to write me again today to tell me about your diabetes, how would you characterize yourself?
I think probably I feel like more right now at that time when I was writing you the email, I feel like diabetes is like 99% of my life. Gotcha. But right now it's like it's just sitting quietly in a corner. It's like 5% or like 3% of my life.
I like the vision of it just sitting quietly in a corner. I think that's nice. How did you get to that place?
I think it's a lot of. I think you just I think it's like debugging, or like if you don't do the right thing, it won't work. Mm-hmm. If you just constantly struggling emotionally and banging your head to things repeatedly by doing the wrong thing, it will never get better again. Like it will never happen.
So you just looked at the steps that needed to be taken and you make sure to take them?
Yeah, I think you just need to, because right now I'm like constantly seeing, or because my A1C is really like perfect, quote unquote. My A1C has been like 5.5.
Wow.
Like twice, or it was once I use insulin, it's always like 5.8. Like when I'm sloppy, it's 6 point something. So I'm always like 5.5.
That's amazing. How have you been? I mean, where did you, is the doctors, I guess the question I should be asking is, the doctors you met put you on a plan that is really helping you?
Yeah, I think that's definitely helpful. I think the way my diabetes center is doing things is very like logical and organized. And I got all the information I need, and they're always there for me. And also I feel like, because I was on injection until I think September or August. I used my pen to inject insulin at that time, but I was browsing this Beyond Type 1 forum. I put a question there. I was asking, because I was listening to your podcast a lot. You were talking about Omnipod, so I want to check it out. I think I reached out to them in the beginning because I don't really use as much insulin as other type 1 right now.
Right.
So in the beginning, first time I called the Omnipod saying, I want to check it out if I'm able to do this. But they said, what's your injection dose? I told a number to them, and they say, oh, you don't have minimum. So probably call us back later. Also, my CDE was saying, oh, I think we still have a little bit time, so you can just use the injection for now.
Are you wanting to get away from injections?
Yeah, I certainly do. Like, because I'm big fan of like all the garbage, trash, food, like cakes.
Jamie's like, listen, I really would like to get back to eating cake.
Yeah, because I heard one of your podcast was saying Aiden wanted to eat a chocolate muffin, and you have to create a blanket of insulin for her to absorb all the carbs.
Those chocolate muffins at her school are difficult, but I have figured them out. But they took some trial and error for sure. There's a pretty hefty amount of I don't know what, and it's also interesting because I'm never with her. So when she has those, I don't get to see them. I don't get to look at the nutrition labels. We just sort of wing it. She's always, kind of rolling out of her class real quick to go grab one and then goes back. And it took us, I bet you she ate about 8 or 10 of those muffins before we got that straight. But yeah, so you live in New York, right? Are you?
Yeah.
It's a city full of bagels and muffins and pizza and, a lot of stuff like that. And you're trying to live your life and that's what you want to do. Are you still exercising the way that you did?
Yeah, actually I recently, because I also read that American Diabetes Association magazine, it was saying I used to run also like almost I exercise after each meal, like but only on like elliptical, like slow motion, like not really intense. So I recently read like because also I'm gaining weight. So my CDE is saying try cardio exercise. So I start to run. I joined a running club with all the marathon runners.
Mm-hmm.
So I trained. I only joined them one month now, and I train with them like 6 a.m. in the morning twice a week. And then I read about this on the magazine saying if you exercise in the morning before breakfast, it will be better on your sugar tolerance and everything. It's better on your sugar.
Okay.
Basically. So also I saw that if I run in the morning, like say 8 miles, I'll be needing like less insulin than I normally would. Okay. So I have been trying to run like 5 miles every morning for like 2 weeks now. I feel like it's working very well for me.
Working well. That's excellent. Where did you find the podcast?
Oh yeah, I found the podcast on the magazine. American.
Oh, when they did that thing last year on the diabetes podcast in the ADA magazine.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think nice. I think that's the only reason like I got out of the depression. Like I was feeling like miserable, like deprived and so depressed until I heard your podcast. You are so funny and you're always like making joke of all those things and also you're talking about in a way like I feel like there are like it's no big deal. You just have to do your thing and
does it helps to feel that way like that it's just you got to see that's how your brain works though, right? Like I basically said there like if you just do this and this it should work out and that makes you happy, like the idea that there's a process there. Is that is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I'm very happy that you found it and that it helped you. Sincerely, I'm huge in the center of China, from what I understand. I'm just kidding. I don't think.
You are.
I don't think anyone listens in the center of China, but it's really wonderful to hear you say that, and it's hard to know how to answer somebody when they say something like that. It feels it's nice, and at the same time, it's I know what the podcast is and I know how it helps people. And still when somebody says it right to your face, it feels strange. So I appreciate you saying it and I'm happy for you. I wish I could be less awkward about answering.
I really appreciate this because I feel like it's really like turned my life around completely. Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is amazing.
Yeah, your podcast is I feel like it has huge impact. Like, I don't know how many people like me, but like it's amazing.
Well, that's cool. I just looked actually, and it has been downloaded 500 times in China in the last like year and a half, which is not, not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it is a lot when you consider I don't have any impact in China, I don't think. So that's really cool. Well, I don't like you threw me off a little bit saying nice things about the podcast. I'll tell you what, if you could give me like 1 minute, actually Arden's sleeping in today and I just need to go make a change to her insulin. I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Thanks.
Yep.
So what are you doing after the podcast? Don't worry, I'm not hitting on you. I'm just saying maybe you should take a look at the Omnipod tubeless insulin pump and get yourself set up with a free no obligation demo. Right? Hold on, I got an itch on my head here. It's very distracting. This is not what Omnipod's paying for. Hey, Omnipod. Appreciate you buying the ad where I'm scratching my head. Don't worry, I'll do the ad at the end. My God, that was weird. Check for something. I could have an ailment. When you go to myomnipod.com/juicebox, you are going to be presented with information. Wow. God damn. Sorry, Omnipod. My voice broke. All right, hold on. A little water. Goodness me. You're going to be presented with information about the Omnipod tubeless insulin pump. Now, this is information that you want to have. Trust me. My daughter will be turning 16 in just a couple of days. She's been wearing an Omnipod every day since she was 4 years old. It is, in fact, exactly what it says it is. And not many things in life are. It is little. It is convenient. It is tubeless. It is discreet if you want it to be. You can wear it loud and proud, or you can hide it away. It doesn't matter. It's not going to cause you to need tubing snaking all through your clothing. It's not going to make you disconnect to shower, to take a bath, to go for a swim, to play soccer, hockey, go for a run. Whatever you do where this tubing would be a problem for you, the Omnipod will not be a concern. And Omnipod is so sure that you're going to like it, they're happy to send you a free no obligation demo. That's why you go to the link, myomnipod.com/juicebox. Fill in a tiny bit of information about yourself, and Omnipod will whisk right into the mail a demo for you to wear. And that way you can swim and run and sleep and do whatever else you do and do whatever else it is you do that you'll also be doing with your insulin pump on. You can give it a test drive. That's not bad, right? I mean, they call it a pod. What do they call it? They used to call it a demo kit. Now they're calling it a pod experience kit, but I like test drive. Nevertheless, let's not confuse the marketing. Get yourself a free, no obligation pod experience kit from Omnipod today. You will be happy that you at least tried, and there is no harm in trying, right? Give it a shot. Imagine yourself in your desk chair, leaning against the wall in your kitchen. I don't know where you lean in the kitchen. I'm a counter leaner when I'm in the kitchen. And you've got your phone there, or your laptop's out, and you've just gotten your Omnipod demo squared away. It's on the way to you. And you're feeling good about yourself. But you want to feel even better. This feeling should send you directly to Dexcom.com/juicebox. Why, you ask? Well, because everything you want to know about the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor that you don't already know, that you haven't learned here on the podcast, is available at Dexcom.com/juicebox. I'm typing it in right now. Now the website pops up and boom, there it is. Gorgeous. The Dexcom G6, there's a transmitter, the receiver. You can see that you can use it on your iPhone or Android. Shows you the sensor. My goodness gracious. Everything's right there. Super exciting. Now, super exciting for everybody in the world? Yeah, probably not everybody. But for someone using insulin, this may not be judged against any other exciting things. Do you understand what I'm saying? It already won. Dexcom is the most exciting thing you could do for your type 1 diabetes. Keep in mind, if this was an Omnipod ad, I would say the most exciting thing you could do for your, you know what I'm saying. You know where I'm at on this. There's no parsing words. I'm an Omnipod and Dexcom fan. We use them both. We've loved them both for a decade or more. And I know what they bring to your life. But at the moment, we're talking about Dexcom. So the Dexcom's the best. It's just sort of like when you're talking to friends about who's most attractive. It's whoever you're talking to, right? Patty. But you're gorgeous. Anyway, Dexcom, the G6. No finger sticks. Glucose readings right on your smart device. Customizable alerts and alarms. Seeing the data that gives you the answers to how you can use your insulin more effectively. That's how I use it. I mean, sure, it's indicated for kids 2 and plus, and it's got Siri integration. And of course, you can share your data with loved ones, up to 10 people. But, at its core, the Dexcom is that great information that tells me I'm rising, I'm falling, how fast, so I can do something about it and be healthy and safe. That's what you need to know. Dexcom.com/Juicebox. Dexcom is the most attractive of my friends. Right until Omnipod gets here, and then I'm just going to go off in a corner and I'll be like, hey, Dexcom, I'll be back in 1 second. Hello, Omnipod. You're so pretty. Links in the show notes of your podcast player or at juiceboxpodcast.com. Upgrade your health. Okay. So I have questions that have nothing to do with diabetes. Do you mind?
Yeah, not at all. Go ahead.
How, I love Crazy Rich Asians, the movie. Do you hate, is it a caricature that you think is ridiculous and that only something Americans would like? Or is there any accuracy to it? Why is it that every time it comes on cable and I notice it, I'm like, oh, look, there's that movie again. And then I end up watching it.
I like the movie too. But I feel like it's a little bit Hollywoodized.
Oh, I would imagine. I was imagining that. I didn't think that everyone in China was running around incredibly wealthy, wearing like $1 million outfits and stuff like that. But
yeah.
But how does it compare? How much cinema do you get in China first, I guess?
I think a few blocks or a lot. Yeah.
So are there movies that are made in China that you grew up watching? Or do you see a mix of those plus like imported movies?
I think it's probably more Chinese movie now in China.
In China. So there's a like a Chinese Hollywood somewhere.
Probably, because I feel like entertainment is pretty like active right now.
Yeah. How come? And you guys in China, people always say, and I have no idea about this, so I'm dying to know, that your technology is way better, your Wi-Fi is way better, like infrastructure. Is that true?
I would say yes. I feel like every time I go back, I would be like, go back to the future.
So you like your cell phones are like better?
Actually, I never use a Huawei phone, but my parents use. And also one thing different is like, in Chinese drama shows, it used to be like they are using iPhones in the show, but now it's all Huawei phones.
Oh, okay. So Chinese made phones.
Yeah.
And seriously, the Wi-Fi way better, right?
Wi-Fi, actually, I think there are always Wi-Fi like in shops, but I don't think Wi-Fi is on the road yet. Well,
but you live in New York, so it's there in New York. Most people don't have it the way they have it in New York, where it's kind of covered everywhere.
But New York Wi-Fi, I don't know if I connected wrong or like I'm too impatient. Like it's always, I'm listening to your podcast, and suddenly it stopped because I connect to New York City Wi-Fi.
And then it doesn't work as well?
Yeah, I don't think so. Or like I just turn it off because I have like unlimited data.
You can do that. So is there, I guess the question I
Mm-hmm.
want to understand is I understand coming here to like want to like absorb what Colombia has.
Mm-hmm.
And do you stay behind because you like it here, because there's better opportunity here? Like it's an interesting thing to me, like to move away from home, even if it wasn't from country to country. If you move away from home and then don't go back, is it just this is where you feel like you live now?
I would say I'm still thinking if I would go back or not because I'm a only child in the family. Also, but I feel like right now because with I'm using Omnipod, I'm using Dexcom. It's like if some in the future something comes out, I feel like it probably gonna be here.
Right. So you consider that you might want to go home just I guess because your parents when they get older and that you're the only child,
Yeah,
but you feel kind of held here by about the from the medical supplies you can get here.
yeah, I think so. Also, I feel like I've been living here like 6 years.
Mm-hmm. It's starting to feel like home.
Yeah, I feel like it's more home than my city because I also practice Japanese martial art like for 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
My teacher, my sensei, my senpais, like my dojo, which is the place I practice,
Yeah.
is like community to me.
Yeah. No, you're building a life here.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I understand.
exactly.
I find it's bizarre that, medical devices, it's hard to get them everywhere they need to be. I've
Hmm.
been having a messaging conversation with somebody from Iran who's
Hmm.
trying really hard to get Omnipod and Dexcom for their kid, and they can't figure out a way to get it accomplished because it's not for sale there. And
Oh.
so I guess same thing with China. That's just you can't buy those things there.
I think freestyle you could, but I looked it up once to see if there's Dexcom, but I I don't know if they have or the news doesn't say so.
Yeah.
And yeah, I believe there must be like um actually the insurance in China is pretty good, I would say. If I have a job and everything, I would say probably I'm even spending less than here.
Hmm.
But if Dexcom is not there, probably I would still stay here for a
Yeah,
while.
I understand. How does insurance work in China? If you have a job, do you get it through your employer? Do you pay for it? Do they pay for it? How does that work?
Um, Actually, I don't
I
know
guess you've never had a job in
exactly.
China, right?
Yeah, but I would say because my mom is a teacher,
Mhm.
their insurance is pretty good. Also, there's like difference between like if you stay in hospital, if you are inpatient or outpatient. Also, like
Right.
because I feel like teachers probably have the very good insurance because they are considered like the same benefit as government or
Oh, okay.
whatever.
Oh, I see.
So
I see.
yeah.
Is there a way for you to take what you do and do it in China? I would imagine so, right? I mean, you're working for a bank, so that
Yeah.
yeah. I understand. It's weird. I wouldn't think you'd go back. To be perfectly honest, my brother just went from New Jersey to Wisconsin for college, and he never came back because he built a life there. Like he
Yeah.
met people and got a job, and it's just where he lives now. I think it's incredibly common. When it feels like when it's that far away, like I didn't know how hard it was to be, away from your parents that far and that stuff. But it sounds like you have a real incredible base here between your dojo and your job, and you live in New York. Talk about that for a second, because New York City is an interesting place because there are so many people, yet no one's really talking to each other, right? So, are you alone with people, or do you not feel alone when you live there?
I feel like half and half actually.
Mm.
On one hand, I have my community, I have my running club, I have my dojo, I have my work. Also, I'm living with a roommate. We have known each other since I got here.
Mhm.
Um, but on the other hand, I feel like, oh, my parents are getting old. But I'm away.
Yeah,
So I feel a bit guilty about that.
of course. No, I understand. How long does it take to fly home to see them?
If I always have two flights. the directing flight to Beijing takes 13 hours. And then I take another flight to my home, 1 hour or so.
How long do you usually sit in Beijing?
I will. The funny thing, I will take a long layover, and we'll call up my friends, and we'll go out and eat all the food.
How is it traveling that far now that you're using insulin? Have you done that trip yet with?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah. There's because I think when I travel internationally, I just put my insulin a lot of pens in the ice pack. Something I got on Amazon. You can soak it in the water and it will become cold and.
Frio pack.
Yeah,
is something like that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Now I'm with Omnipod. Actually, I try because my change of pod always not. Sometimes when I'm showering, suddenly I scrape the wall, it came off, or sometimes I have to change it not the time I planned because this weekend is a long weekend. I'm traveling to North Carolina to see my friend.
Wow.
So I was thinking probably because I thought I can inject the insulin into the pod and carry it outside, put it on whenever I want. So okay. I tried it on Tuesday at work. Actually, in the morning before I left, I inject insulin. I heard 2 beeps. Then I went to work. Actually, I put it on around. It's definitely above 2 hours, and it doesn't let me activate that pod. So I didn't read the really thick manual of the Omnipod. That's my fault.
Yeah, I think right. So I get what you're saying. You were trying to transport the insulin inside of the pod that wasn't set up yet, except that after a certain amount of time, it just errors if you don't turn it on, right?
Yeah. So it's.
I gotcha. So do you have a very small shower, or do you just take very active showers? How did you knock off your?
Yeah, that's totally on me because we have a dent on the wall. You can put in shower gels and everything. Sure. It has a edge. So I was I just bending over to scrub my feet, and I scrubbed the wall on that edge, so it just take it off completely. I was so surprised because normally it takes me so much strength, and even I have marks when I take it off, it sticks so well.
Yeah, you just hit it just right, and it popped right off.
Yeah, it's not even sticky edge on it anymore. So
I have to be honest, you made me jealous for being younger and single when you were like, this weekend I'm going to go to North Carolina to visit a friend. Going to North Carolina for 3 days is a major upheaval of my life, and I love the idea that you could just kind of pick up and go. It's very cool. Is somebody you met in college?
Yeah, from my master program. She's getting a PhD over there, so. Oh. I've never been to North Carolina, so I'm going to check it out.
That's nice. I'm going to celebrate with her a little bit.
Yeah, I think she's although she's a statistician, she also is a choreographer and a musician. So I'm probably gonna dance with her or and also I want to keep my running schedule. I will run with her probably
in North Carolina. Well, hopefully it's got to be warmer there right now than it is here, I would think.
I hope so.
Yeah. How? By the way, how bad are New York winters? They're terrible, right? Just.
I would say, yeah, it's so much colder than my hometown. And when I got here, I was like, it's snow like this. It's so beautiful. And after 2 weeks, it's still snowing. I feel like, oh no, not again.
Stopped being beautiful a while ago. The most interesting thing for anybody who's never been in New York City is that on very cold, windy days, the wind only blows through the city one way. So you can be on a cross street where there's no wind. And then all of a sudden get to an intersection and it feels like there's a giant God-sized fan blowing down the street, right? And if you get stuck on one of those streets and you're walking up and down the way the wind's blowing, it's I mean, it's to be expected, I guess. There's so many buildings, but the buildings block the cross streets. It's very weird. The first time you experience it, it's a strange thing. Very, very strange.
Yeah, it is. Like, I heard a story, like, because our office was at the Wall Street area once. So one of my colleagues actually came out of the building and his glasses were blown away.
No, that sounds completely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wind tunnel going in one direction, and the other direction there's just a void of air. There's nothing happening, no noise, and it's all fine. But no, I know. I mean, it really is. How immersed are you in culture here? Like Christmas time's coming up soon. Like, is that a big deal for you, or is it just another day? Like Thanksgiving too? Like, how do you handle those kinds of holidays?
I would say, yeah, I feel like I'm also like half and half. Like at school, I used to go to Thanksgiving dinner with my like American friends, and but at work, it's like my friends are going away home. So I feel like I almost like spend all those like American holidays, especially when I'm working more and more. Now I'm spending it like in a Chinese way. I will go with my roommate for like a celebration for Hapa, or like my Japanese friend, or like it's different.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you have a cross culture of friends, so that's nice. Like we live in a diverse place, and it's great because Arden and Cole have friends from just all different kinds of backgrounds, and they are always they're always doing different things and seeing how other people celebrate different holidays. It's very cool. So it sounds like you're living a very metropolitan lifestyle, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, food, at least food-wise, it is in New York City.
Oh yeah, you can find almost anything there, which might not be good for you, Jaime. I'm starting to think, but
yeah, but still, one thing I'm thinking about is here, like everything is labeled clearly, and it's also like labeled correctly, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at home it's not always right.
Yeah, at home, like I brought something back, like it's some sesame like powder you can actually put in hot water and drink it. It's more like a soup or something. So it says like 20 something carbs, so I put in my insulin, but my sugar jumped to like 200 something.
Wow.
So I never tried it again. Probably I will with more insulin.
Yeah, sometimes in America we complain about the government and the things that they do and the regulations they put on industry, but that's a good example. There's a part of the U.S. government that makes sure that foods are labeled correctly, and they come down hard on businesses that don't do it, and therefore those businesses make sure it's right. And that ends up helping somebody like you. I'm really like tickled by the idea that the podcast helped you with your goal of eating cake. So I think it's true that Jaime is actually having her cake and eating it as well. We're right up on an hour, but I wanted to ask you to say your name again in Chinese.
冻饮桑.
Yeah, you're right. I would not be able to say that. Okay. Can you, in Chinese, say you're listening to the Juicebox podcast, or does that not translate?
Yeah, I can try. 我现在正在听果汁盒子 podcast or 播客，欢迎大家收听。我非常喜欢这个播客。
Thank you. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but it made me happy. I just got done. Actually, I didn't just get done. I'm doing tomorrow morning. Somebody's going to jump on real quick in Spanish and go over the signs and symptoms of type 1 diabetes in Spanish. And we're going to put that up along with something else. But you're making me think that I should be doing it in more languages, because I have to admit, I mean, you listen to the podcast, there's been like 280 episodes so far with mainly English speaking people. Like every once in a while somebody comes from Czech, or I've had people from other countries, but they're still mainly English speaking, Australia, the UK, that sort of thing. But you in your email or when we've been going back and forth, you're like, listen, my English isn't great. And like, you're like, but you really are. I had absolutely no trouble understanding you at any point during this conversation. So, I mean, obviously you work with mostly English speaking people all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's very cool. I'm thrilled that it reached you like this. Do you think there'd be any value in me adding the signs of type 1 diabetes in Chinese?
Yeah, I think so, because I feel like but I don't really know what is care like diabetes care in China like, because I'm mostly like just do the checkup and go.
Yeah.
But they have some like classes, and also before I have type 1, I always thought like diabetes is thing for senior people.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like people need to conquer their fear for insulin, and also there's certain like misunderstanding thinking Chinese medicine can cure anything, like say type 1 diabetes, or like it might be helpful, but still you need to take insulin. So I feel like people definitely need more information about type 1 diabetes there. Yeah.
I agree. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Oh, I appreciate your time too. This is fun.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you so much, Jaime, for coming on and sharing your very unique experience. Thank you also to Dexcom and Omnipod for sponsoring this episode. You can get a free, no obligation Omnipod at myomnipod.com/juicebox. And of course, learn all about the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor at dexcom.com/juicebox. If you can't remember those links, they're right there in your podcast player notes or at juiceboxpodcast.com. I got you covered. You'll find your way there.